So, super excited for today. Basically, DJI have released a brand new drone and I think it's arrived at the office. Now, I ordered this drone on Amazon a couple days back and it's arrived. It's at the office right now. Swear, like half of this is stuff that I haven't even ordered. Corsair. It's probably sick though. Okay, that is something that I ordered for a video, fair enough. This is the box that I think we'll want. Sick! Whilst I'm unboxing this, I do want to explain a few things. I've been into drones for a very long time. Like, I think since basically the first Phantoms came out, the Phantom 3s, before drones were wildly popular, I've always loved them. I've owned pretty much every drone from every category that DJI makes, all the way from the pro stuff like the DJI Inspire 1 drones, right down to their prosumer stuff like the Mavics. Ho, okay, that is insane. Now, like I already mentioned, I know a lot about DJI drones and I also know a lot about FPV stuff, and this is DJI's attempt to bring this to mass market. So my question, and what I'm going to try and answer in this video, is who is this for, is it any good, and should you buy one? Okay, so I've come home because this is where my personal drone collection is, and I think it's time we play a game that's called Tell Me You Know a Lot About Drones Without Telling Me You Know a Lot About Drones. Now, on a real note, there's a few things that you guys do need to understand before we go out. Hang on. Now this is a Mavic 2, I think this is the Mavic 2 Pro, and in this box right here is everything you would need to get going, get up in the air and get some sort of crazy 4K drone shot. You've got the drone, you've got the battery, and you've got the controller that has a screen built into it, or you just use your phone screen. It's safe, really easy to fly. Out of this battery you get about 20 minutes on the flight time, and it's super stable. Like, if you put the controller down mid-flight, this thing would just hover. That's what we're going to call normal drone flying. Then there's FPV flying, which looks a little something like this. Now this is an FPV drone. These things aren't very safe. They do break and you have to completely build them yourself. The cameras on them aren't gimbalized like they are on here, so the footage isn't steady, and you have two cameras on an FPV drone. You have the FPV camera, which is this one on here, and then the actual footage that you get from the drone, well, you can record it on whatever camera you want. In my FPV drawer, these are a few little GoPro cases that you put a GoPro inside, and then the GoPro sits on here too. It's a completely different experience. Now, I know what you're saying, Alex, if buying a normal DJI drone like this is so easy, you can buy it off the shelf and be up in 5 minutes, and it's safe and it's fun, why in anybody's right mind would they build and buy an FPV drone? And the point is the shot that you're getting. The best way to describe it is this one, well, it has all the safety features, so the drone always stays like this, therefore the camera always has its horizon, so the shot looks like this, it's nice and slow and steady. Whereas this drone has absolutely no safety and no gravity, so if you want to do a nosedive and get that cool shot, that is why these are cool, and that is why these break. I would risk this and fly this through really sketchy objects because I can fix it. I have all the parts in my bag to do so, and all the parts inside of here are user replaceable. So now you understand the different shots you can get from each drone and how they differ. We can introduce this. Okay, Okay, so welcome to this abandoned building, or what FPV pilots commonly call these places, bandos. This is a really good one because, as you can see, it's got loads of tiny little windows, holes in that we can hopefully fly through. Now, first off, I do just want to say I'm not the best FPV drone pilot going. So please don't judge my flying. I can fly, I'm not great, and I'm hopefully going to be able to demonstrate a point to you today. I've got 3 drones. We've got the normal drone, we've got the new DJI FPV drone, and we've got my old school FPV drone. And first, we're going to fly the normal drone. Okay, so this is the sort of image you can expect from a normal drone like this. Something really, really steady. If I was to use this stick here and move the drone around, as you can see, the drone starts to pan around and it's a really, really steady shot, considering this is a camera that's floating in the air. Now, you can hear that beeping. Now, if I try to fly through this gap here, you'll hear that beeping is going to get louder, and that's because this drone has what's called obstacle avoidance. It knows there's an obstacle in front of it, and even though there's a big gap that I could fly through, it's still going to stop me. Now, to try and give you an example of a shot that you can get from this type of drone, the shot that I'm getting is super smooth and cinematic. And that is what this drone is for, to get really nice smooth shots like the one you can see on your screen now that I'm capturing on this screen. And now I'm simply going to bring this drone in for a landing by holding the down stick, and as you can see, I don't even have to look, this drone should just land all by itself. So that is normal droning. Now we're going to check out FPV droning. And to get going with this, it's a little more complicated. So we're going to need our controller, we're going to need a LiPo battery, these things are really dangerous, and we're also going to need our FPV headset. Velcro this battery on like that, and then plug it in like that. And now we need another LiPo battery, and this battery is going to connect to our FPV headset so we can give power to it and get signal. Like that. So to fly this drone, I'm going to make sure that Pro mode is disengaged for takeoff, and then I'm going to arm my motors by flicking that one there, and now I can use this one to take off. Now, as I was saying, we can fly around with this drone fairly steadily, but if I flick this drone into Pro mode, which I'm going to do in 3, 2, 1, now we can fly 0G, which means I can basically look at the ground like this and get some awesome shots. And it also means there's no obstacle avoidance, so I can do stuff like this and dive straight through the gaps like that, and it is so cool flying from this perspective. Now, while I'm continuing to fly around with this FPV drone, I'm going to tell you about today's sponsor, Skillshare. Now, if you're trying to learn a new skill, please go and do it on Skillshare, because to be perfectly honest with you, Skillshare beats reading the manual. They've got thousands of courses on there, and as you guys know, I recently did a course on how to use a gimbal for a camera. And like I said, it just beats reading the manual. I really like that all the courses are sort of split up in sections. So if you wanted to go and learn how to do droning, for example, they've got courses on there for like first flight, what to do on the first flight, or how to get cinematic shots like I'm getting right now. Straight through the gap. That is so fun. It's only $10 a month when paid annually. But here's the kicker. For you guys, you can get a free premium membership to Skillshare using my link below. But warning, it's only the first 1,000 of you. And huge thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Now, back to the awesome drone flying. This is FPV. You do what you want, when you want, it's super fast, and there's no gravity. Don't crash in there again, Alex, please. And like I explained in the house, there's 2 separate cameras, so you guys can now see the feed that I'm seeing in my goggles, and now you can see the GoPro feed. There's a massive difference. Okay guys, I'm gonna try this gap one more time, and then I really do, there we go, need to bring this thing in for a landing. There we go, I've got no battery. That's the problem with these FPV drones. You get about 3 minutes, and basically if you're running out of power, these things will still hover, but when you give it the throttle, like I did then, it just didn't have the juice to do it, and I hit the ground. But these things, they're user replaceable. You can replace everything on them, and that's the beauty of them. I just crashed this thing twice today, and I'm not bothered. And look, I guarantee you this thing will still be absolutely fine. Okay, so now we're gonna try the DJI FPV and see if it's a hybrid gap between this and this. So we're gonna need our headset, which is pretty much identical to my DJI FPV headset for my FPV drone. We're gonna need the battery for the headset. Now this is what DJI offer with the DJI kit. It's this little thing with a USB-C port in the end, and that just plugs in there like that to give us power for the headset. This is the battery for the drone. It slots in there like that, but then you actually have to connect it with this connector here. And okay, here is our controller. Let's get that powered on. Let's power on this drone. That's sick. Okay, first flight with FPV. Okay, so there we are. So right now I'm in what's called N mode, which I think stands for normal mode. Essentially this is acting like a normal drone, except I've got goggles on. Okay, I'm still in normal mode. Let's see if we can clear this gap. Okay, straight through the gap, no problem. Okay, let's get some height up. My next question is, how fast is this thing in normal mode? I'm gonna give it the guns, ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay, now this is full throttle in normal mode. Okay, it's not very fast. This genuinely just feels like a normal drone, except I've got FPV goggles on. Now, the other thing that I'm noticing is this is only a one-axis gimbal. So as I'm pitching left and right here, you can see the actual movement in the drone. Whereas if I go forward and back, because it has that tilt axis gimbal on it, as I'm flying forward and back, the image stays forward. Whereas in a normal FPV drone, if you were to tilt forward, the camera image would look down, and that gives you a real sense of what the drone's actually doing. Something that I don't think I'm getting with this. Okay, I'm gonna flick this thing into fully manual in 3, 2, 1. Oh, wow. Okay, instantly, as you guys can see, this thing is rapid. Whoa. Look how fast this thing is. Wow. This thing is rapid, and I love being able to just stop and take my headset off, and I know that the drone is hovering there in place. And now I'm in manual mode, by the way. Okay, some dude's come with his motorbike. I can get some good chases on. Let's go. Oh, sick. Oh, this is so cool. Oh, look at this. And the range on this thing is unbelievable. I'm all the way down here with this motorbike. And if I turn around to show you guys where I am, look. The abandoned building is all the way over here, and I'm gonna bomb it back. I'm bombing it back now. Look how fast this thing is. Wow. Straight over the building. Woo! You guys must have heard that. That was insane. Okay, now a car has turned up. Look at these shots that I'm getting from the little FPV drone. This is absolutely bonkers. Okay, I'm still in fully manual mode right now. I'm gonna try and see if we can clear this gap. Are you guys ready for this? I am genuinely really scared right now. Come on, Alex, you've got this. I don't like it. We're through! And this gap, and this gap. Oh, it's very fast. We're through again! Woo! That is sick! Okay, now I'm gonna try coming in to the building and then out through the big gap, like that. Okay, that's really interesting. I'm gonna try that again. Okay, ready? Approaching the building, going above the building, and then quickly drop the throttle straight through and through the gap. Lovely. Okay, I'm getting more used to this DJI FPV system. Okay, 28% battery left. We're dropping through again. That was pretty close. Whoa. Okay, let's just try and get some cool FPV shots on my first flight with this DJI FPV drone. Let's do this. Okay, we are landing, and just as I thought, this DJI drone just completely lands itself. Really, really enjoyed that experience. Top notch, 100% recommend. The fact that anybody can pick up and do that, that is the game changer. Anybody can do this. Okay, so so it's the day after yesterday now. I wanted some time to reflect on my experience before I give you my thoughts and wrap up this video. Now there's a few things that we need to talk about. Normal FPV drone, new drone. Now this drone came pretty much pre-built for me. This is a FPV drone from a company called iFly. If you're wanting to get started with FPV, I would definitely check out iFly. I'll put a link down there in the description. But as you can see, if this drone tilts forward to fly forward like this, it changes the angle of the camera on the front. Whereas with this one, because it has a one-axis gimbal, as you fly forward, the camera is able to maintain a straight horizon. So even if you fly backwards, the camera can stay straight. Now that's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing, because when you're flying FPV, the actual tilt of the camera gives me, the pilot, like a certain sense of feedback as to what the drone is actually doing. So if I was doing this gap with a normal FPV drone, I would know that the drone is falling because I can see the ground. Whereas with this one, it was difficult to judge that because the camera was always staying straight. Now you can go into fully pro mode and lock this camera, which does give this an FPV-like experience, but for that, I would not recommend one of these. I would recommend one of these, because especially if it's your first time doing FPV, you are going to crash, right? And if you crash one of these, it's gonna hurt your wallet much less than crashing one of these. Does that make sense? I think I'm gonna close that by saying this. This is not an FPV drone. Yes, it can do what an FPV drone can do, but I think the fun of having an actual FPV drone is the ability to crash these things, send them through really small gaps, and not worry about breaking them. Whereas you cannot do that with this. You break this, and it's 1.2K down the drain. If you are somebody that already has FPV drones and knows how to fly actual FPV drones like this one, I don't think this is for you unless you're wanting to pick up a toy to mess around with. That is what this is, whereas this is more of a professional filmmaking and stunt doing tool. Does that make sense? Toy tool. And with that being said, I hope you've enjoyed, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.